day to everyone. My name is Aygün Dadashev, and today we will have an interview with VP Exploration Vice President Greg Riley. Hi, Mr. Greg. First of all, I want to say thank you for your agreement to have an interview with us, and I think you're a great inspiration for all young professionals and want to succeed in their career.
Well, you're welcome, and thank you for having me, and congratulations to SPE, and congratulations to all of the young people that have worked so hard to make SPE a great success in Azerbaijan.
Could you please say our followers about your career path, how it's all started?
Well, I'll take it all the way back to my university days. I always knew I wanted to go into the sciences, and I did bounce around a little bit. I did a little chemistry, a little biochemistry, then actually ended up getting a degree in zoology and fisheries. And but then I took a course in the summer from a geology course and fell in love with it. And really, that was sort of I was very passionate about geology, and ended up. I thought I'd get my bachelor's and maybe get a job, but then after I got my bachelor's, I thought, well, let's get a master's degree. And then after my master's degree, I ended up getting my PhD, and so it really was following the passion of geology. And then, and especially in my PhD, I worked quite closely with the oil industry. So my professor would teach classes and do consulting for various companies. And so I started to interact quite heavily with the oil industry. And it was something quite, at that time, it was something quite, I can do this thing that I really enjoy, I really love, which is geology, and hey, somebody's willing to pay me for that. And so that was, that's sort of how I got started in the oil and gas industry. And over time, I've had so many experiences where you're maybe looking at rocks somewhere, or visiting some country, all of these various places, and you think to yourself, wow, somebody pays me to do this. That's quite good. So that's how it started. That's how I started and got into geology. And then I went to work for Amoco after I finished my dissertation, and worked immediately started working overseas. So did worked a little bit in sort of Southern Asia, Pakistan, then a little bit in West Africa, and then quite quickly started working in the former Soviet Union, first in Kazakhstan, and then after a couple of years in Azerbaijan, and have been here working Azerbaijan ever since. So sort of the past 24, 25 years working in this part of the world. And that's sort of how it all started.
Thank you, sir. My another question is about the history of your involvement with SPE.
So after I started working in Azerbaijan for a few years, the one additional benefit of working in this part of the world was the bringing of some of the external sort of associations, the big associations, the APG, the EAGE, the SPE, and helping and bringing those to help young people in sort of their development career. And so I was involved with all of those organizations, helping them to establish themselves, run courses, et cetera, et cetera. And then, really a couple of our younger guys that I worked with when they were just starting out, really became heavily involved in SPE. Elshan and Ali became quite heavily involved, and then another one that worked for me for a time, Hatira. They all became quite heavily involved in the SPE, and so I've certainly been quite proud of them and the impact that they've had, and sort of the devotion, sort of into helping the next generation out. And So yeah, it's been something very enjoyable to watch the great success of SPE.
What is your advice to our young professional in order to be successful?
I think the advice I'd give any young person, or not so young, I'm not sure that it matters that much, but one is find something that you know, make sure you know, do something you love. You know, it's much easier to be good at something you love, and then you know, work hard and become really good at something. You know, I think and in today's world, there's really not much excuse for not being able to get good at something. Yeah, the amount of information you've got at your fingertips now, the opportunities you have with the SPE, the opportunities you have, you know, with all of the online, you know, sort of resources. So I think it's really not that different than any advice you'd always give is, you know, work, you know, try to do something, you know, you're passionate about, you love, and then you know, become really good at it. And work really hard, and I've just never seen anybody, I'll be honest with you, this is, you know, I've given this advice to many people, is that I've never seen anybody that works hard, you know, tries to continue to develop themselves and you know, sort of behaves themselves, not be successful. You know, I've never seen that. You know, I think people say, well, will I be successful or not? You know, I think if you want to, I think the recipe for success is pretty simple, and it's the hard part is following. You know, sort of following those. You know, because it's easy to give advice and harder to follow it sometimes. But the SPE, you know, get involved in the SPE, and then once you've sort of, you know, crossed over that threshold, you know, then start contributing to the next generation, and that's where you'll really, you know, sort of, I think, you know, get your reward is by, you know, bringing that next group along. You know, certainly the things that people have, you know, have done for yourself, I think, probably with the young talent and how that's been successful and really bringing along and because there's no doubt now in my mind that here in Azerbaijan and BP, I mean, we've and in the whole of Azerbaijan, the oil and gas industry in Azerbaijan, it's one of the strongest working forces in the world, I suspect. You know, very talented, enthusiastic, wanting to learn and develop, and, you know, sort of take our oil and gas industry into the next phase. You know, and some of the challenges that we face today. And so I think it's quite an exciting time. And I think for any young person that wants to, that feels passionate about being in the sciences or the technologies, it's a great time. And so follow your passion, work hard, and sort of behave yourself.
Thanks a lot for your time and story.
Well, you're welcome, and thank you for having me, and you know, congratulations to SPE, and congratulations to you know, all of the young people that have worked so hard to make SPE a great success in Azerbaijan.